welcome to Coach's Bench here on Mix 104.1. Thanks to Mark Smith and everybody at the area McDonald's restaurants for bringing you Coach's Bench each week with Coach Tygard. Coach, a tough one last week up at Walker Valley. Had some chances, just wasn't able to come back with the win, but some players had a good game. Let's talk about them.
Yeah, I mean, defensively we did great, so I was really happy with how we did there. Offensively, that was the struggle. So, you know, anytime you have over 200 yards of offense in the first half, but 120 yards of penalties, that's going to bring a downer on the game. But defensively, you know, they gave us a chance to win. You know, so that's all you ask for there. So that's the same kids every week. You know, it's our defensive line, Anthony Davis, so all those guys, and then you know, Dylan Harrell, Camden Lockerbie, Avery Hughes. Avery had his best game as a Blue Raider. So, you know, they did a really good job on that side of the ball.
They did. The linebackers, from my opinion, had a great game. Harrell he was kind of untouched on a couple of plays where they just forgot about him or they were not looking his way.
And we checked into a lot of different defenses, you know, so Coach Manis does a great job over there, and so, you know, he's got them schemed up, and so we know where the ball's going before the snap, and then you bring Dylan off the edge, and so you saw that a couple times. He did a good job with that.
He surely did. On the other side, the offense, let's just put it to rest this way. When you have positive plays, but there's a hanky on the field, then kind of spoils the momentum.
Yeah, so we actually had 12 drives in the game. You know, 2 of them was either the last 20 seconds of the game or right before halftime. So you really only had 10 real drives. Out of those 10, only 4 drives did not have at least one or multiple holding penalties. Yeah. 2 of those drives we scored, so we scored in 1 minute and 28, and we scored in 2 minutes and 13 seconds. The other 2 times we just didn't convert, a 3rd and 4th down. One was a 4th and 1 QB sneak that we got called for the quarterback not being set on his own quarterback sneak, and you know, we didn't convert the 4th and 6 after that. But you know, if you've got 6 drives of multiple 10-plus yard penalties, you're not going to have a successful night offensively.
Yeah. And we'll put that subject to rest before we go any further publicly. But anyway, it is what it is. But anyway, Blue Raiders' first loss on the year. And, Coach, maybe a couple of linemen, or other than the linebackers, D-line, a couple of other people that had good games. Because I overlook people that have good games. I'm following the ball, you know, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough when you literally don't have any offensive yardage whatsoever because of penalties. So I'm not going to go out there and just say we did great on offense when we didn't do so. You know, we just got to get better in that regard. And it's not like I don't ever want to use officials as an excuse to why you didn't win or no. It's not. A lot of those holding penalties are our fault. And we showed the kids that on film. And basically what we've been doing this week is we are brutally honest, whether we win or lose. But winning hides a lot of things that wouldn't necessarily come up. You know, when you lose a game, you call all those things out. And so that's what we've been doing this week, especially offensively. You know, so we had a little come to Jesus meeting earlier in the week, and you know, on the hill. And you know, we had to figure out exactly, you know, what we got to do moving forward, because you can't receivers, for example. How you play without the ball tells us how much you love your teammates. And if you're a receiver, you can catch all the balls, you can score all the touchdowns, you can do a great job with that. But if you won't block for your teammates, okay, you're not going to be successful. Okay, so if your quarterback doesn't have a great relationship with your offensive lineman, then they're not going to block as hard as they would if they did. You see what I'm saying? Your running backs, they don't carry the ball all the time. They have to be involved in pass protection. We had 1 pass protection bust to where our running back didn't come and get the last man off the line of scrimmage. Quarterback rolls out, ends up taking a sack instead of throwing the ball away. So we lost, you know, 10 yards on a on a first down. That was completely preventable by our running back and our quarterback. So we just kind of tell it like it is and say, you know, we didn't have a great game, but you know, you watch the film, you improve, and then next, you know, you get another chance this week against an even tougher opponent. So once you get into region play in our region, it's going to be hard, and Farragut does a great job, so it's going to be a tough game.
They really, really do. Speaking of this week, it's the week of Labor Day. I'm assuming the Blue Raiders labored on Labor Day.
Yep, so we practiced in the morning, and then we actually left practice, and our futures team, our JV guys, they went up to McMinn County. Shout out to them. They had a great win. I think it was 27-7. The first half, they didn't even have a running back on the roster because a couple kids decided to skip a workout, so they didn't get to play in the first half. But they came back and won 27-7 without even having 3 running backs. So those guys came back in the second half and played well. And so I'm sure McMinn County was like, wait a minute, where'd all these kids come from? But they did a great job. And then our freshman team, we have a freshman team for the first time in 8 years. And they traveled to South Pittsburgh, so far away. They played at 7 p.m. Eastern. And they lost we had the ball inside the 10 at the very end of the game, and they lost by a touchdown. But they're playing sophomores and juniors, so they're playing other teams, JV teams. And so we're putting a big emphasis on our JV team that we call the Futures, and our freshman team, and we've got over 40 kids on the freshman team. And so the success is coming. We just have to, we've got to get those kids going, and over the course of the next couple of years, I think we'll start to see the benefit of starting that freshman team again.
Definitely, to me, the freshman team, the JV program, building blocks.
Yeah, and starts at the middle school, starts at the youth league. So Coach Barber's doing a great job with the middle school program. They've got 100 kids over there, 54 eighth graders, and then both our tackle and our flag CYFL teams are doing a great job this year. And so that's where it starts. It starts with the little ones, and then having a great middle school coaching staff and a lot of success there. Then with our freshman team, then with our futures team and Coach Reynolds, and then finally once they start to hit us, it's going to become a machine over the next course of years when you get it going.
That's how you build a program. We'll be back in just a moment with segment 2 with Coach Tygard on the coaches bench here on Mix 104.1. Coach, the last 10, 15 years, I forget how many times Blue Raiders have gone to Farragut. They show a lot of Southern hospitality, except on the scoreboard.
That sounds about right. So Coach Courtney's been there. I think this is his 28th year.
Right.
He's a good friend of mine, so we go way back. Jeff is his son, is the offensive coordinator. He was a walk-on receiver when I was a GA at Tennessee, so I coached him. I was running the scout team. He was a scout team receiver, so
really?
We've been friends for a long time, and he does a great job with their offense. So the Courtney family's been really good to me. I talked to Coach Courtney, when I need advice about things and stuff like that. So it's the first time we've ever played against each other, so it'll be neat to go over there and give it our best shot.
An interesting connection there between you and the Courtney family, but yes, he's been there a long time. He's very successful. Something about his teams that I've seen in the past, they rarely beat themselves. Now they don't have the reputation of Maryville, but to me they're kind of like Maryville in the aspect you've got to beat them. They're not going to give you.
It's a lot of similarities. Actually, they are identical to Brentwood High School. Is who I compare them to.
Really?
So when I was in Middle Tennessee, we played Brentwood week 1 every year. We upset them once. They upset us once. It's going to be a close game. They never get blown out. They don't lose the game. They play great on special teams. They're extremely well coached and prepared. You're not going to trick their coaches or any of that kind of stuff. So it's it's going to be more of a just normal football game plan. It's not going to be like our Clinton game. You just got to out execute a team that's mostly all upperclassmen. They've all been together. They all play for each other. He runs a high school program the way it should be done, and they've been doing it this way for a long time. So for a year 1 program, it's a big undertaking. But at the same time, we do have some talented players, and we just got to put them in the best position and try to win the game.
On the way over here to do the program, I thought one of the questions I've got to ask him, you were a graduate assistant at UT, and I was just going to ask you a UT story. It doesn't have to be, like a highlight or something like that. Just something interesting that when you were a GA up there that you were involved with.
Man, I got some stories. A lot of them you can't say on this thing. I worked for Lane Kiffin and and Derek Dooley and then Coach Fulmer. So I was there for 7 years. I started out on the lowest of the low as a student assistant, volunteer coach my sophomore year of college. One of my first jobs was checking classes and, driving around on golf carts and going in and peeking in. I've seen a kid jump out of a window to skip class because he checked in. I saw him there, and then later, I'm driving around the golf cart, and he ends up jumping out the window to skip the class. He was an All-American player, great player, but he ended up not doing as well in the NFL because of stuff like that. But there's been a lot of fun stories. It's a great place. Coach Riggs also played up there, and
yes.
I met my wife there,
Right.
and so Knoxville's is a special place to us. And it's always cool to go back. I've only been to a couple games since I left. The first one I came back to was actually the Ole Miss game when Lane Kiffin brought
Yes.
Ole Miss back up to Knoxville a couple years ago, and they were throwing all the bottles off the upper deck
Right.
and all that. So that was the
I
first
thought
game
I saw
back.
your arm go
No,
forward.
I was down low, but I turned around and saw all the beer bottles coming off the upper deck, and it reminded me of the movie The 300. When all the arrows come shooting, it blocks out the sun. That's how many beer bottles were coming over the top. And I looked at Lauren. I said, "All right, time to go." So
Yes.
we got out of there. And then I was at the Alabama game last year. We were on the field after the game and all that.
Oh,
so
yes.
so that was pretty special. So it's a cool place, and we had a great time when I was there.
Very good. We're going to wrap up this edition of Coach's Bench with Coach Chandler Tygard in just a couple of moments. We'll be back. Coach, media people like me like to talk about AP ratings, and this is a statewide network, and so you're getting people from West Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, East Tennessee voting in the AP. And this week, and it might be the first time in history, I don't know right now, but of your 10 opponents, every one of them got votes this week. It just tells me what kind of teams you're playing this year.
Yeah, I mean it's not easy. So but it's what you sign up for. That's why you want to come here. That's why you want to play these teams. We dealt with a similar situation when we were in Murfreesboro. So it's really no different there. If you're playing 6A football, you want to play the best teams you can play, and even in our non-region opponents,
Every one of them.
Yeah, Red Bank, Ray County, McMinn County, Walker Valley, they're doing great. So it's every week it actually gets tougher, I think. And so I told the kids, every week throughout the season until we start hitting that. We even got a 3-game stretch of Bearden, Maryville, and Bradley. So it's not going to be an easy schedule this year, but at the same time it's fun.
It is fun, and the hard work pays off, the dedication pays off, the players buying into the system and what's expected pays off in the long run. So, I mean, nobody's waving a white flag or feeling sympathy at Cleveland High School about the schedule. That's just how it turned out this year, because every team in this region has a lot of respect. Of course, last year Maryville had a lot of respect. Blue Raiders upset them. So there's no givens, and that's why they play the game. Otherwise, if you play it on paper, what's the fun in it? Last question, 3 keys for a Cleveland win.
Okay, well, the first thing is we got to be solid on special teams. They've got a great kicker. They've got about 37 coaches up there, about 3 special teams coaches. I mean, they do a great job on special teams, so that can get you beat because it's going to be a close game. We have to run the ball. We have to stop the run. That's something we've been trying to do all year. All the Murfreesboro people are shocked how heavy run we are down here. so
is a broadcaster, I know.
yeah.
But anyway.
But I mean, you got to take the talent that you have,
Right.
and whether I want to do that in the long term or not, it has nothing to do with if you're trying to win right now. Who are the kids that need to touch the ball and put them in the best situation you can on their worst players, and try to get the ball on their worst players. Take your best, put it on their worst. They're a good program, but at the same time, every team has holes, and so you've got to try to get the ball into those holes. Offensively and defensively, you got to stop the run and run the ball, and then you just got to take care of the ball. So we haven't had any takeaways. Last week we didn't have any fumbles or interceptions last week, so we came close to getting that. If we can win the turnover margin, whether that's being from an onside kick or they drop a punt or they throw an interception, if you win the turnover margin, you win most of your games. And so we've done a great job with ball security. We put a major emphasis on that with Coach Riggs the last couple weeks, but at the same time we need to take a ball from somebody else.
Absolutely. Last thought, teams that work hard, play hard, are together, are are going to be successful in the long run, and successful coaches know the talent they have, and they put their team, like he said, in the best position to win, and you match your game plan to the talent you have. So that's what the great coaches do.